Hey guys, it's Lawrence with Oasis Physio, and today we're going to go through a functional capacity test. So with a lot of patients who need clearance with work, or they need to do a lifting assessment for work, including workers' compensation, or to be able to begin work at some places, you'll need to do some sort of lifting capacity test. Today we're going to run through pretty much the full capacity test that we do when you come to the practice. So depending on your career or depending on your job, you're going to need to lift a minimum of X amount of kilograms for different amount of time frames. Have a reference or a look at the function capacity of the actual workplace to know exactly what you need to do before you can actually start working. So we can use these tests at home. You can use them to actually train to prepare your body for the work that you need to do while avoiding injuries, okay? So the first one is we're going to be lifting from the floor to your waist. So I've got a basket here. Depending on your job, you might need different equipment. So boxes, sometimes it's tools, barbells, single hand kind of stuff. So definitely refer back to the functional test that's provided with your role when you get the contract and whatnot. And that will tell you exactly what you need to do, okay? So we've got this bench set up right here. This is about waist height. And all you're going to do is you're going to lift this box, place it at waist height, and then lift it back down, okay? Some places are comfortable with you just standing up here and lifting it to waist height. On average, most of the jobs that we look at, you're gonna need to lift about 25 kilos from the floor to your waist. So when you do come to the practice, we'll load up this basket with these kind of weights, slowly beginning at no kilos, adding on 5, 10, 15 kilogram increments until we can find you can comfortably perform this task. So let's say for example, you're a laborer and you need to be lifting frequently from the floor to the waist height, and on average it's about 20 kilos. So we're gonna grab a 20 kilo weight. So this kettlebell is about 20 kilos. We're just gonna load it into the basket. And to fit your role, if we need to do it infrequently, that's usually one lift every 30 minutes to an hour. You only need to pop out at maybe 5 or 6 reps. But for this role that we're making up, let's say you have to do it pretty frequently. So 20 kilos floor to waist, and you want to aim for about 10 repetitions. So in terms of lifting stance, make sure you're bending at the knees, keeping your core engaged and nice and braced. And the breathing technique that you're going to do is as you lift up, you breathe out, and then as you lower, you breathe in. So let's go through these 10 reps. Nice solid base, lifting up. That's 5. That's 6. And that's 10 reps, okay? So if you're able to manage this in the practice, we can write on your functional report that you can lift from your floor to your waist level, about 20 kilos, 10 reps. Wow, I'm tired, God. So the next functional task in terms of lifting would be from waist height to shoulder height. So this is roles like when you do checkouts at the store, or if you're on the tools where you have to be lifting some sort of significant weight around this range, okay? So let's create this height right now. So I'm pretty short, so this is waist height to shoulder height just here. And again, depending on your career, you're gonna need to lift different amounts. On average, with people who work around here, the most they're gonna need to lift is about 10, 15 kilos. So we're gonna practice that now, but we're gonna do it with some dumbbells. So this is a 10 kilo dumbbell. Again, we're gonna load it into the crate, starting at this waist height. So all we're gonna do is lift it onto the top level, and again, aim for 10 reps. So up here, that's 1, 2, and the main thing with these exercises, you should feel maybe a little bit of discomfort, which is like the fatigue from actually lifting. But if you do feel any major symptoms like pain, anything above like a 5 out of 10, that's when we'd probably stop and limit the test. Okay, I've lost count. So, say I lifted that about 10 times. That would clear me for lifting waist to shoulder height for about 10 kilos for a high frequency job. With the next one would be from the shoulder height to overhead. So this is jobs where you would need to be looking overhead and actually manipulating and doing things overhead. Any kind of trade, really. Mechanics, very common to do this one as well. So with this one, same kind of thing. We're gonna set up shoulder height and then practice lifting overhead. So on average, the max people will need to really lift from this position would be about 10 kilos. And it's meant to be very low frequency. So you don't need that many reps, but it's always good to practice. Let's say, for example, that the cutoff for the next person is 5 kilos overhead for a very frequent job. So we'll go for 5 kilos shoulder to overhead, and we're gonna aim for about 10 reps. So let's change some weight. So here we have a 6 kilo dumbbell. Let's say we need to get this lifting overhead. So what we're gonna start is with one hand or two hands, again, depending on your job. You're gonna be lifting above your head. Let's change hands so you can kind of see what I'm doing. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Just make sure to breathe as you do this, because I've had a few people hold their breath the whole time and they get really puffed out and really gassed. 9 and 10, beautiful. So that was 10 reps. So on my report, I would write 6 kilos, 10 reps, pretty comfortable, maybe limited by fatigue because I am a little bit out of shape at the moment, but that would be written in the report. And if it passes the benchmark, then you'll be able to get that job, not a problem. So for the next lifting assessment would be some sort of pushing or pulling. So for example, if you're working at a grocer and you need to push the heavy trolleys or the heavy pallets, this is a good way to test if you have the functional capacity to do so. Okay, so in the practice, we have a trolley here. It might be different for every practice. Some would have like more of a trolley thing, but this is what we have at the moment. And let's say for our worker, they need to lift and push about 10 kilos very frequently. Okay, so we have a 10 kilo weight just here, load it up in the trolley, and we just get you pushing it for time. So you're pushing it very comfortably, no issues there. And again, you can do pulling as well. So pulling is the opposite movement. So usually with pallets, it's better off to pull, so you don't end up, working too hard. Your legs and your back are stronger in a pulling movement. And we just practice this for time. So if you need to do it pretty frequently, we get you pushing continuously for 2 to 5 minutes. Otherwise, we can go for distance. So if we can see that you're comfortably handling this constant pushing movement without the brakes giving you an issue with the trolley, then we can clear you for pushing and pulling for about 10 kilos very comfortably. The last few functional tasks that are required for work would be some sort of squatting endurance, some sort of twisting endurance, some sort of bending endurance. So in terms of squatting, very similar technique to the lifting. You're gonna shoot your hips back, bend down as far as you can, coming back up. And usually if you can handle this kind of movement for about 10 reps, then you're clear to squat as much as you need to. So in terms of jobs, this is in a grocer, if you need to get down to the low shelves to pick things up or to be able to handle those kind of techniques, okay? Second thing would be twisting, so very comfortably standing, rotating your body side to side. If you are getting any pain, let your practitioner know and they can note it down. But for the most part, if you're not too sore, not too irritable, this is all we're gonna get you to do. Again, aiming for about 10 to 20 rotations without any issues there. Next one would be bending. So at the hips, you're just gonna bend forward as much as you can. Ideally, touch the floor or your toes, not really getting any pain. Very smooth movements, that's what we're looking for. And again, aiming for 10 to 20 repetitions depending on your workload, and we can put this in the functional assessment as clear to bend comfortably without any issues. So in terms of the other functional tasks, so we've got standing, walking, and sitting, it's very difficult for us to sit there, or it's not really difficult, we don't have enough time in the day to sit there and watch you physically sit for an hour at a time. So we usually do a subjective assessment here where we ask you, how long have you sat for, or how long have you driven for before you get symptoms? Majority of the time, if you're saying, oh, I can sit for about 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours without getting any issues, that's pretty, normal for a lot of people. That means you're cleared to do work where you require a lot of sitting. So this is like office work, admin work, any kind of reception work. This is how we test for that. Otherwise, in terms of walking, same thing. How long can you walk for? We do have some treadmills in the back there as well. So if we really want to test it, we just get you on the treadmill, set the time for about 15, 20 minutes, and then we watch you walk for about 15, 20 minutes. If you can get that without any issues, then you're fit to do some walking kind of rolls. Same thing with standing. If you can stand in one spot, obviously you need to adjust every now and again, but most of the time it's a subjective assessment. So we ask you what's the longest you've stood for. And if you can handle, anywhere above an hour, then we're comfortable letting you get back to work, doing standing tasks such as cleaning, dishwashing, again, doing the registers at your grocery. These are the main lifting tests that we do for our patients if they want to get cleared to go back to some sort of work. It does get very specific once we go into specific roles. So for example, if you are working with very fine motor skills, we would have to see your endurance with your hands, lifting, twisting, rotating, pinching, getting the grip strength, getting the endurance. That's something that's very niche, and usually if you have to get a functional assessment for that, you would need to go to your physio to practice and learn those skills. But everything we've done here, this will translate over to 80 to 90% of job roles there. Some sort of lifting, some sort of squatting, sitting endurance, standing endurance, walking endurance, driving endurance, some sort of bending, twisting, squatting. Those are the main functional tasks that we would test for to give you some sort of clearance to get back into work. So give those a go. If you like this type of content, please consider leaving a like. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Otherwise, train these tasks up so you can get stronger and you can get back into work as soon as possible. Good luck.